this tutorial, we're going to learn how to build a dependent drop-down list, which is something like this. If we select an option on the subject field, a bunch of options pop up for the job field, and if we select a different option, a bunch of different options pop up, and we can see that the job field is dependent on the subject field. So another thing to notice is that if we haven't selected any option for the subject field, there is no option for the job field. Okay, and I'm going to assume that you already know Python and basic Django, and you know about Django models and have also worked with Django model form. And we're going to build the dependent drop-down list using Jquery. So let's get started. I've taken care of all the essential stuff here. I've created my project, and I've created an app called app1, which is not really necessary for this project. You can complete this project in your main app if you want to do so. Okay, now let's create our model. And as we've seen that we need 3 attributes: name, subject, and job. So let's create a model with those attributes. Let's call it person. Model name equals model field. Let's give it a max length of 50, and let's copy that. Oops. Let's copy that. Okay. Let's just copy that. Call it subject, job, and since subject and job will be our drop-down list, we need to give them some choices. So let's define the choices first. Okay, now for subject, we have 2 choices: computer science and business. So let's declare them as constants. Computer science equals computer science, and business equals business. Now, in order to put those choices here, we obviously have to create a list of tuples, such as this: subject choices. Okay. Now let's give them our values. Business and business. So let's put those choices here. Okay, now we need some job choices. So let's declare them. Let's declare the constants. Let's say CS1 equals software engineer, and CS2 equals data analyst. As we've seen, that for computer science we have software engineer and data scientist. Okay, let's call it data scientist then. And for business we have accountant and financial analyst. Okay, that's another one that I did earlier for this project. Okay, let's say B1 equals accountant, and B2 equals financial analyst. Okay, now let's put our values in the choices. CS1, cs2. It's not like that. I've made a mistake here. cs1. Let's copy this, put this here. cs2, cs2, b1, b1, and copy this, b2 and b2. Okay, now let's put the job choices here, and we're good to go. Okay, now we need a form that reflects on this model. So let's create a forms.py file here. Okay, from Django import forms, and let's import our model. Import model form. Models import person. Okay. Now let's create our form. Let's call it person form. Forms.model form, and class meta equals model equals person, and fields equals all. Now, what this string means is that the form will have all the fields that are defined on this model. In order to create the dependent drop-down lists, we're going to have to send these strings to our front end, and in order to do that, we're going to have to define a few functions for our convenience. Let's say define get cs strings. Okay. Now we're going to have to send a list of strings. Let's send cs1 and cs2. And let's return it. Return cs strings, and let's copy this and do the same for the business strings. Okay. B, B, and we're good to go. Okay, now let's check our views. We're gonna have to make some imports. Let's import JSON. We're gonna need JSON to send the data to our template, and we're gonna need our models. We're gonna need our model, and we're gonna need those functions that we created. Okay. Get b strings. Okay. Now say define. So since we're gonna render the form, let's call it person form page. Request. Let's declare an empty dictionary here, and we're not going to handle the form right now, so we're only going to render it. So let's create an instance of our form. We're also going to need our form. Import person form, and let's create an instance of person form. Okay, person form equals person form. We're not gonna handle the form right now, so in order to just render it, let's create an instance this way. Now we're gonna need our strings, so let's say cs strings equals get cs strings. Get cs strings. So this way we're gonna have our list of strings. B strings. Okay, B strings. Okay, now since we're gonna have to send our strings, we're gonna have to send these lists to our template. So we're gonna have to format it to JSON like this. Let's call it JSON CS strings equals JSON dot dump s CS strings. What this is gonna do is this is gonna take our list and format it uh, as JSON strings. So it's still gonna be a Python string, but it's gonna look like JSON inside. JSON B strings equals, do the same thing, dump s B strings. Okay, now let's pass it to our context like this. Strings equals JSON CS strings. Let's copy this and let's call it this. Now let's just return render request and context. So we're gonna have to define a template, which we'll do right now. Now let's write our template, HTML file. Let's call it person form page.html. Let's call it the same thing and let's leave it as it is. Let's put our form here. Okay, now action method post. Let's include the CSRF token. And in order to pass our form, all we have to do is write this dot person form dot sp. Now, what person form refers to is the form that we created in our views and pass to our context like this. And we need a button. The input type submit. And let's say value equals press. Okay. Now what this is going to do is it's going to render the form, but the form is going to have all the choices, all the job choices right here. It's not going to be dependent. The job field is not going to be dependent on the subject field as we want to. So in order to show that, I'm going to run the server now. I fixed all the URLs beforehand, so all I have to do is now make migrations. Okay, manage.py migrate. Let's just run server now. Python manage.py run server. Okay, 127 // Okay, let's close the other one that I had running. Okay. Okay, I haven't passed the template in my views. So let's say 1 slash person form page.html. Let's see. Okay, great. Now we can see that we got all our choices right here, but we want it to be dependent on the subject field. So in order to do that, we're gonna have to use Jquery, which is a JavaScript library, which is gonna allow us to modify the contents of this drop-down list. So but first we'd have to import jQuery, and for that we'd have to type this in Google. jQuery Google CDN, and under hosted libraries we have to copy this link. We have to copy this and put it somewhere at the top of our template. Now that we've added jQuery, we can write some JavaScript here for our dependent drop-down list, and within the script tags we're gonna have to write some jQuery, which goes like this: document.ready, which is a function which has another function, and whatever we write within this function will work once our page has been loaded, which is what this piece of code means. So let's write some jQuery, and we need a way to refer to these drop-down lists. So what we have right now are three fields: name, subject, and job, which we described in our models, and our form also has these fields. So how this is going to be represented in the HTML is that they're going to have IDs as which correspond to their names, such as name will have an ID of ID underscore name, subject will have an ID of ID underscore subject, and job will have ID underscore job. And we're going to use those to refer to them in our jQuery. So initially our job field is empty because we haven't selected anything yet. So let's do that first. Once our page loads, we're gonna have to use ID selector, which is the # here, # ID underscore job, which looks for an ID with ID underscore job, and we're gonna call the empty function on it so that all of its contents are emptied. Okay, now let's see if it works. Let's see if the contents of the job field are emptied. Okay, there you go. It is empty now. Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna retrieve the strings that we sent here, the JSON strings. So for that, we're gonna have to declare some variables. Let's call them CS strings and B strings. Okay, we're gonna have to use a function called json.parse, and we're gonna have to write the full name that we gave to our strings, which in this case is JSON C strings, escape.js. Let's copy this, equals JSON B strings. Okay, now it's gonna return a list of strings, the same strings that we passed through our view. Okay, now that we have our lists, we can get to making our dependent drop-down list, and for that we're gonna have to use an onChange listener on the subject field, which is saying that whenever there's a change in value of the subject field, there will be a change in available values for the job field. And in order to do that, we're gonna need the ID of the subject field, which is, as we mentioned before, ID underscore subject. So we're gonna have to retrieve the ID like this, # id underscore subject dot on, which is a function. Okay, we're gonna have to pass a string called change. Okay, we're gonna have to pass this function. Okay, now anything we write within this indentation, within these curly braces, will be triggered whenever there's a change in value of the subject field. So at first we're gonna need the value of the subject field. So we're gonna need a variable. Let's say variable subject equals, okay, subject equals the ID of the subject field. Okay guys, I just realized I've made a mistake here. It has to be escape.js, no dots. And since we're writing JavaScript, let's follow JavaScript conventions, which uses camel case and not underscore case. Dot val. Okay, now what's going to follow is simply a series of if-else statements, which says if subject has this value, then job should have these values, and if subject has the other value, then job should have these other values. So let's go ahead and do that. Now let's write our if-else statements. Since we have the value of subject, we're going to use that. Let's say subject equals, if subject equals computer science, then okay, whenever there's a change in value, what we have to do at first is we're gonna have to empty all the available values of job, because if we don't do that, it's entirely possible that we're gonna be changing the value of subject multiple times, and if we don't empty the value of job every time we change the value of subject, it could be that the values keep getting added to job, and we will end up with a long messed up list of values. So accountant, financial analyst, these things can occur multiple times if we don't empty the values first. So let's do that. ID job, pound ID job dot empty. Okay, now after emptying, we're gonna have to make it visible. Hash ID job dot show. We're gonna have to make it visible because, okay, I don't think we need to do that because we didn't hide it. Okay, so we're gonna need the length of our CS strings. Let's say length equals CS strings dot length. We're gonna need it to run the loop. We're gonna need another variable I for the loop. I equals 0, I less than length, I plus plus. Okay, now at first we're gonna need the current instance of the CS string. Let's say CS string equals CS strings I. So it's gonna iterate through the list and assign the corresponding value each time, which we're gonna append to the job drop-down list. So job, we're gonna need ID job pound ID underscore job dot append. Okay, so we're gonna have to send an option tag here because the choices are actually options in HTML. Okay, option. Am I doing it correctly? Yeah. Okay, so we're also gonna need two quotation-like characters here. Okay, keep in mind that these are not single quotes. These, I don't know what these are. These appear on the keyboard, so if anybody knows what these are, let me know in the comments. So option. Okay. Okay, we're gonna need this $sign right here. Okay, let's just call it job so that we don't need to change it later on. Say job value equals job. Okay, we're gonna need the $sign again. Job. So just gonna iterate through the list. It's gonna assign the current value to job. Then it's gonna append that value as one of the options to the drop-down list. So we're pretty much done here. So all we have to do now is do the same for the business field. So we can just copy paste it. Let's just write the subject equals business. Then we can pretty much copy paste the rest. Let's copy all of these. And I think that's pretty much it. Well, I think I've yet again made a few errors. Where is it? The length. Okay, this is going to be an attribute, not a function. And let's fix it for business. For business, we got b strings. Again, it's not a function. And it's going to be b string psi, and the rest is pretty much the same. All we have to do is add another else statement, and in case we don't select either of computer science or business, we're simply gonna empty the job field. So we know how that goes. ID selector, ID job dot empty. Okay, I guess we're good to go here. Let's run it. And let's stop this one. Let's see if it works now. Okay, there's probably some error here which we need to fix. Okay, it took a while to find the error. The problem was that there was a missing curly brace right here, and I forgot to add semicolons to some of the statements because I keep forgetting that this is not Python. Okay, semicolon and semicolon. Now it should work. Let's see. Run server. Okay, it's working. Initially, job is empty. When we select an option, there you go. We got the corresponding options for job, and if we switch to business, we get accountant and financial analyst. We switch back to computer science, and we get these back again, and we switch back to blank, in which case job is just empty. Well, I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and if you have any issues regarding this, let me know in the comments.